First, what is NLP? NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, which is the behavior technology. So you can think of it as an interaction between the artificial intelligence, linguistic, and computer science. There are a lot of use cases of NLP technologies. I think the main one is the predictive text modeling, which is the core of chatbots such as the ChatGPT. So what it essentially is doing is it's predicting the best next word of a sentence. A different use cases could be sentiment analysis, entity abstraction, and text classification. I feel very personally related to the text classification is because from one of the past projects, one of the POC I have done is to analyze the inputs of the tickets, coming from a call center and trying to predict which department should handle these tickets. So it could be one use cases of text classification. A lot of people are asking why ChatGPT is so accurate and also conversational at the same time. So here I wanted to touch upon a little bit on the algorithm as well. So ChatGPT is essentially trained on 570 gigabytes of data coming from the internet, either from Wikipedia, books, website article, etc. And 300 billion words were fed into the model. So it's a huge database. And at the same time, the model, it was trained on 175 billion parameters, which means in order to predict the next best word in line, it leveraged 175 billion parameters. So no wonder, it is so accurate and conversational. There are different layers of the training algorithm. So the first one is the basically raw model fitting. So the raw model training is basically, as I mentioned, leverage those 175 billion parameters to predict the next best word. But here it's actually introducing a very interesting misalignment problem, which means what ChatGPT is doing is optimizing might not essentially matching the user's intentions. In order to fix these problems, reinforcement learning is also implemented as well. So reinforcement learning is basically a lot of customized human interacted chat history was also fit into the model, and then human will manually pick a lot of answers and trying to rank them from most favorable to the least favorable, and the ChatGPT model take into account of those real human picked curated answer and further tune the model to match the human's intent. And on top of that, it also create the reward modeling so it can optimize its policy. So it's kind of like a two-part. That the first part is, yes, it leverages parameter to predict the next best word in line, but at the same time, by actually fitting into the human's input, ChatGPT can better understand the human's intention as well. Another cool things I found around ChatGPT is it has a memory of 3,000 words, which means if you give it like 3,000 words context, it's able to understand it, memorize it, and then the answer would be also based on that as well. And here I wanted to talk about the product side of ChatGPT. I think it's hard to talk about the user experience without first mentioning the user's intent or user's demand. I think when a user is asking a question to ChatGPT, he has the questions in mind, so he knows what he's looking for. So the criteria of the user is first, I want the accurate answer, and accurate include factual, tininess of the information, and also getting my intention as well. I think there are three parts. And one of the tricky part is, sometimes when a user is typing a question, he or she might not use the best word to describe. So here really requires the machine learning model to understand what's the intent behind it. So I think that's the first part. The user is actually demanding the accurate information. The second part is I want the answer fast. Right now when you ask Google some questions, type into Google search, the answer will provided to you, I think, less than milliseconds. So in order for me to get the answer quickly, I want the chatbot to do the same as well. And the third criteria, I think, is the chatbot can offer me comprehensible language. Not too academical, but plain language so everyone can digest. I think this is, some of the top criteria when a user is approaching the chatbot and trying to ask them a question. So just keep this in mind. And then let's talk about the actual user experience of ChatGPT. There are a lot of pros of ChatGPT, which I don't really want to spend a lot of time illustrating over here. It's definitely offer you a very different experience. So here I want to focus more on the limitation or things ChatGPT can further improve. So first of all, it's, as a lot of people notice, it's not really fast every time. So this could be due to a lot of reasons. I think first of all is ChatGPT can be slowed down due to the server issue. If a lot of people are asking it a question at the same time, it will be slowed down. And especially if you are inputting a lot of, complicated questions. And the second thing is, because the complexity of ChatGPT's model, the time it takes, just to run through the model, going through all the parameters takes a lot of energy, cost, and time as well. So I think my biggest takeaway when I was interacting with the ChatGPT is I need to wait for like 30 seconds or 20 seconds in order to get a response. But I can just go to the Google search and it will give the answer within milliseconds. So I think that is the first thing that ChatGPT or every chatbot can improve in the future. And the second thing is the timeliness of the data, because speaking from the user's perspective, I want the answer to be accurate, which include I want the answer to be timely as well. But ChatGPT only trained on data, until 2021. So I have tried asking it a question that, can you let me know the economy outlook for 2023? It just told me that the training data it used is currently, until 2021, so it won't be able to give me any input into that. So that is the second limitation. So here is, what I'm thinking, that big tech giant might potentially have more competitive edge, such as Google, because it can access more tiny data. So it might be offer, users most accurate answers. And the third things I think ChatGPT can improve is the sustainability. Meta, Google all have their chatbot that's currently in development. And the Meta's chatbot, used only 1/7 of the carbon footprint compared to ChatGPT. This, regarding the energy and policy, I think it's a very huge aspect that every company need to take consideration into, because this related to its scalability and also potential opportunity to get funded as well. And another topic I want to talk about is a lot of people are saying that ChatGPT or chatbot in general will potentially revolutionize our traditional search experience. I think my gut feeling is in the near future, I don't think it will be truly revolutionizing, because at first, as I mentioned, it's very slow in speed. And the second, considering how much energy and the carbon footprint, it's produced, it's not really scalable and environmental friendly as well. So I think that's kind of the first reason. The second reason is people are just get used to Google search or being searched, those kind of search experience for so long. It's hard for them to fundamentally move away from these searching habits. And another interesting problem to think about, let's talk about from the corporate, perspective is, for example, when Google offering you the answer, it basically gathers a lot of information and ranking them through relevancy. And then it's your job to go through all of them, filter out the most useful information, use your own personal judgment, and to answer your question for yourself. So you're passively offered the answer, but it requires user to actively thinking through and filtering out. So you can think of this as a not very efficient process, because humans are always tend to be lazy. But at the same time, one benefit of this is from a corporate standpoint is it didn't take the responsibility. So what if, a chatbot now tells you something wrong and it becomes the only source of truth? Then who's going to take this responsibility? So let's just talk about very, very extreme scenarios. Unfortunately, there's a fire in my kitchen. I don't know what I should do. So I go to Google, I search, what should I do if there's fire in my kitchen? And Google might offer me a lot of different response. So one article might talking about, hey, if you're living a higher upper floor, this is what you should do. If you're living in a house, this is what you should do, etc., etc. And then I can use my own judgment to, find the best method. And if the method I'm choosing is wrong, because I use my own judgment, then Google is free of any responsibility, and I'm not going to blame Google as well. But let's say now chatbot replace Google search. I'm just asking the chatbot, hey, what I should do, there's a fire. Now at the only source of truth, the chatbot might giving me the wrong answer for whatever reasons, and I follow it, and bad things happen. So I now can fully blame chatbot because I'm passively given the answer, and the answer it provided to me was wrong. So now I think a lot of customer or user like me will just started to assume Google, say, hey, the answer you provided is wrong, and then it actually caused a big tragedy in my life. So this is very extreme scenario, but this could potentially better illustrate my point in terms of who will be taking the responsibility if offering the wrong answer. Some of the key trends in this industry, first is how to become more scalable in terms of become both environmental friendly and also reducing the training cost. Reducing training costs include move away those infrastructure into cloud and also potential considering quantum computing. It's very interesting. When I was doing some research online, I find a lot of code and algorithm are just transparent. It just put into there, which means that, hey, I have all of the technology over here, but you still cannot beat me because it requires so much energy to train. So this is the first most important thing that become scalable. And the second thing is how to access to more data to train on. This is why I think Google and Meta potentially have more advantage over those startups, because it can access more abundant information and also more real-time information as well. So I'm looking forward to see, how the ChatGPT will be integrated into Bing search, and we can continue to talk about these topics next time. Thanks, everyone.